3,000 miles from the nearest American port, a submarine crew sits in near-total darkness, listening. March 4th, 2026. Indian Ocean, off Sri Lanka's coast. Their target, an Iranian frigate, the IRIS Dena. But here you don't know, the part that never makes headlines. How does a vessel designed to be invisible find another ship in 139 million square miles of ocean and strike without ever being seen? This isn't about geopolitics. This is about the hunt itself. NAR, the crew, the impossible mechanics of tracking something you can't see, touch, or even ping without giving yourself away. A submarine operating 3,000 miles from home isn't just far from support. It's operating in a domain where distance becomes irrelevance, if you know how to listen. The ocean is the only environment on Earth where stealth isn't just possible. It's the default state. Light penetrates maybe 200 meters. Radio waves, dead on arrival. Radar can't see through water at all. Down here, sound is everything. Sound is sight. Sound is survival's the submarine's evolutionary advantage. Surface ships broadcast their presence constantly. Diesel engines thrumming at 20 hertz, propellers churning water into acoustic signatures that radiate for miles. They can't hide. A modern frigate, like the IRIS Dena, produces continuous noise, machinery vibrations, hull resin, the distinctive cavitation pattern of its screws cutting through seawater. A submarine? Silent. No air-breathing engines. Reactor coolant pumps isolated on spring mounts. Hull coated in anechoic tiles that absorb incoming sound. Propellers designed to minimize cavit. It moves through the ocean like a hole in the water, displacing sound waves instead of creating them. But that silence cuts both ways. The same ocean that hides the hunter also hides the prey. Temperature layers bend sound waves downward, creating shadow zones where a frigate 10 miles away becomes acoustically invisible. IRIS gradients scatter signals. Biological noise from shrimp colonies can mask engine sounds entirely. The ocean is a labyrinth of acoustic dead zones and phantom contacts. So the question becomes tactical. How do you find something that might be hiding in a thermal layer 500 feet above you? Just enough noise to blend into the ambient sea. When you're listening from a metal tube designed to be deaf to the outside world? The answer lives in the sonar room. But before we get there, understand this. The IRIS Dena wasn't just a target. It was an acoustic puzzle wrapped 3,000 tons of steel, moving at 18 knots through contested waters, potentially aware it was being hunted. And the submarine hunting it? Operating in a war zone, without backup, without satellite confirmation, without any option except to trust its ears. Here's what makes underwater detection so brutal. You're hunting with one sense, and that sense is broken by physics. Sound in water doesn't travel in straight lines. It bends. A thermocline, a layer where water temperature drops sharply, axism for sound waves. Sonar signals hit that boundary and refract downward, away from the submarine. The result? A frigate cruising 400 feet above you, engines roaring, becomes acoustically invisible. You're 12 miles away, and you might as well be listening concrete. Then, there are shadow zones, areas where converging sound waves cancel each other out, creating pockets of acoustic silence that can hide a warship for hours. The Indian Ocean, with its complex salinity gradients from river outflows and varying temperatures from equatorial heating, generates these zones constantly moment you have clear bearing on a target. The next, gone. Not because it disappeared, because the ocean closed the acoustic door. Passive sonar is the only way to hunt without announcing yourself. Active sonar, the ping everyone pictures from movies Suicide. Send out an acoustic pulse and you've just lit a flare saying, "I'm here." Every surface ship, every helicopter, every friendly submarine within 50 miles hears it. You lose the only advantage that keeps you alive. Surprise. So you listen. Only listen. But what are you listening to? The ocean is loud. Shrimp colonies snap their claws, creating broadband noise that sounds like static. Whales vocalize across hundreds of miles. Merchant ships thousands of kilometers away produce low-frequency rumble that propagates through deep sound channels. underwater canoes, ice calving, rain hitting the surface. The ocean is a symphony of irrelevant noise, and buried somewhere in that chaos is the specific frequency signature of your target's propeller blades. Now add human limits. The sonar room on a Virginia-aped, dimly lit, and vibrating with machinery hum. Sonar technicians wear headphones for 6-hour shifts, watching waterfall displays of sound data scroll past. Their job? Identify a pattern in the noise. A 23 Hz salinity that might be a diesel generator. A rhythmic thumping at 180 revolutions per minute that matches a frigate's screw rate. One tech described it. You're looking for a whisper in a thunderstorm, and if you miss it, people die. Broadband passive sonar captures everything, the full spectrum of ocean noise from 10 Hz to 100 kHz. That's your first pass. A wall of sound data that computer algorithms sift through, flagging anomalies. The computers handle 80% of the grunt work, filtering out biologics and known contacts. But computers can't classify intent. They can't tell the difference between a merchant tanker and a warship running quiet. That's where narrowband analysis comes in, isolating specific frequencies, looking for the acoustic fingerprint that says this is a gas turbine, not a diesel, or these propeller harmon a Moj-class frigate. And even then, you don't have range. You have a bearing, a direction the sound is coming from. That's it. To build a firing solution, you need to know how far away the target is, how fast it's moving, what course it's steering. All you on a screen pointing somewhere out in the dark. That's the Labyrinth. Total information blackout, broken physics, and a human brain trying to construct a three-dimensional tactical picture from a one-dimensional input. Sound. The first whiz from 50 miles out. A faint tonality, barely distinguishable from ambient noise. The towed array, a cable stretching 2,000 feet behind the submarine, bristling with hydrophones, picks it up first. Towed arrays have 3 times the detection range of hull-mounted sonar because they're isolated from the submarine's own machinery noise. They hear clean. The sonar tech sees it before he hears it. A thin vertical line on the waterfall display. Consistent frequency, not biological. Keys his mic. Possible contact, bearing 047, broadband tonality, analyzing. Broadband gives you presence, narrowband gives you identity. He switches to narrowband mode, isolating the frequency. There, a harmonic series centered around 23 Hz. That's machinery, too rhythmic to be geological, too sustained to be transient noise. He cross-references the acoustic library, diesel generator, possible auxiliary power unit. Then another spike, 180 revolutions per minute blade rate. That's propeller noise, and the blade suggests a 4-blade screw. Merchant ships use 5 or 6 blades for efficiency, warships use 4 for speed. The computer flags it, 85% probability military surface contact. The tech keys the captain. Classify contact Sierra. 1, 2, military surface vessel, assess Moj-class frigate, confidence high. They've just identified the IRIS Dena, but they still don't know where it is. This is where the hunt becomes mathematics. The submarine alters course by 10 degrees, maintains speed. 10 minutes pass. The bearing shifts, now 044 instead of 047. That change in angle, combined with time and the submarine's known movement, allows the fire control computer to triangulate an approximate range. First solution, 52 nautical miles, speed 18 knots, course 270 degrees west. The captain orders a second maneuver. They need confirmation, another course change, another bearing shift. The computer refines the solution. Range, 48 miles. The target is closing. Now the challenge inverts. They've found the prey, but maintaining contact without being detected requires staying inside the target's acoustic shadow. Too close, and the frigate's hull-mounted sonar might catch a reflection. Too far, and the signal fades into the thermocline. The submarine adjusts depth, sliding under a thermal layer where sound reads from the surface. They're hunting from beneath, invisible. Inside the sonar room, the tech doesn't blink. His screen is life. 1 lost contact, 1 missed frequency shift. and the entire firing solution collapses. He described it later on a frigate for 6 hours on passive alone. Bearings drifting left, pounding propeller harmonics, growing louder. Closest call was when he turned directly toward us, but we were deep, tucked under a layer. He passed overhead and had no idea. The towed array is the critical sensor here. In Cold War operations, US submarines trailed Soviet surface fleets for weeks using only towed arrays, building complete acoustic signatures without a single active ping. The tactic classified percent of Soviet vessels before any engagement, pure intelligence dominance through silence. And the crew? They don't sleep in shifts during a hunt. Sonar techs rotate every 6 hours to prevent fatigue errors, but the command team stays awake. The monitors, the tactical plot. The XO coordinates with fire control. The weapons officer pre-programs torpedo solutions for rapid engagement. It's methodical, clinical, and it's happening right now, beneath the surface, while the frigate's crew scans the horizon with radar that can't see beneath the waves. Tracking a ship is one thing. Killing it from 15 miles away without revealing your position is another. The submarine now has continuous track on the IRIS Dena, range 22 nautical miles, speed 17 knots, course 285 degrees. The target is zigzagging slightly, standard anti, but not aggressively. Either they don't know they're being hunted, or they don't believe a submarine is this far from US waters. Fire control begins building the solution. A torpedo doesn't fire in a straight line. It travels at 4050 knots, depending on mode, the target is moving, and the ocean is layered with thermal barriers that will bend the torpedo's active seeker. The computer calculates intercept geometry, where the target will be in 18 minutes when the weapon arrives, factoring in target speed changes, depth selection, optimal acoustic propagation, and gyro angle to launch the torpedo on the correct bearing. The weapons officer checks the solution 3 times. Modern fire control systems achieve 95% accuracy in anti-surface warfare exercises, using these passive ranging techniques. But exercises don't have consequences. The captain gives the order. Firing point procedures. Sierra, 1, 2, tube 1. The weapons room springs to action. Tube 1 is flooded. Seawater fills the torpedo tube to equalize pressure with the ocean outside. The outer door opens silently. The Mark 48 torpedo sits loaded, its 650-pound high-explosive warhead, armed wire guidance spool, ready to unspool 50,000 feet of copper filament for mid-course corrections. Solution ready, the fire control tech reports. Weapon ready. Weapons confirm ship ready, the XO states. The captain pauses. One more sonar check, the IRIS Dena's bearing hasn't changed. No indication they've detected the submarine. The acoustic conditions are stable. No sudden thermocline shifts. No intervening merchant traffic. Shoot tube 1. Compressed air ejects the torpedo. For the first 5 seconds, it glides silently on momentum, clearing the submarine's baffles. Then the engine ignites. A small pump jet thruster pushing the weapon to 40 knots. The wire spools out it, maintaining data link with the submarine. The torpedo runs for 12 minutes on passive sonar alone, listening for the target's propeller noise. The submarine tracks both the weapon and the target, feeding steering corrections through the wire. At 8,000 yards, the torpedo's active seeker enables. Now it's pinging, but the frigate only has seconds to react. The IRIS Dena's countermeasures launch. Noisemakers splash into the water, creating false acoustic signatures. Decoy's broadcast engine sounds to lure the torpedo off target. The Fry, hard to port, attempting to break the firing solution. But the torpedo was launched from below, traveling shallow. The frigate's keel is exposed. The weapon adjusts course, ignoring decoys. Its processor recognizes the authentic acoustic profile from the submarine's targeting data. 22:47 local time. The warhead detonates beneath the waterline, aft of the engine room. The explosion fractures the hull. The frigate begins listing immediately. The submarine doesn't surface, doesn't transmit. It simply fades deeper, slipping away the thermal layer, leaving behind only the sinking frigate and a mystery the surface fleet will investigate for weeks. Where did the shot come from? That's the invisible strike. From detection to impact, the submarine never revealed its position. Here's what just happened. DIST, a U.S. submarine, detected an Iranian frigate at 50+ nautical miles using passive sonar, tracked it for hours through thermal layers and acoustic shadow zones, built a firing solution through triangulation and narrowband analysis, and delivered a torpedo without a single active sonar ping. The frigate had no warning until the weapon's terminal seeker activated seconds before impact. This is the apex of underwater warfare. Not brute force, surgical invisibility. Now, the research doesn't confirm the specific outcome of the March 4th, 2026 engagement with the IRIS Dena, but it confirms the process. These are the exact steps documented war Soviet tracking in modern ASW exercises, in declassified attack profiles from submarines like the USS Tang. This is how the hunt unfolds when a submarine operates 3,000 miles from home. The implications ripple outward. If a submarine can project power this far from friendly waters, maintaining stealth throughout, then no fleet is truly safe in contested zones. Iran, China, Russia. Their naval planners know this. A single Virginia-class submarine in the Indian Ocean fundamentally alters the strategic calculus. Surface ships must assume they're being tracked at all times. Convoys require constant ASW helicopter coverage. Operational slows, and the cost? It's human. 120 to 150 personnel live inside that steel tube for 6-month deployments. They don't see sunlight. They breathe recycled air. They sleep in hot bunking rotations. 3 sharing, 2 bunks across shifts. The sonar techs endure 6-hour stints staring at waterfall displays, hunting for patterns in noise, knowing a single missed contact could mean mission failure. One tech described the tension. You're listening to bearings drift for hours, waiting for the moment when the captain calls firing point procedures. Your heart pounds, but your hands stay steady because 150 lives depend on you not missing a frequency shift. This is deterrence without presence. The submarine doesn't patrol visibly like a destroyer freedom of navigation operations. With cameras rolling, it simply exists somewhere beneath the waves, and that existence alters adversary behavior. The threat of being tracked, of a torpedo arriving from an unknown bearing, Forces K technology keeps evolving. Modern towed arrays detect quieter targets at greater ranges. Algorithmic processing filters noise more efficiently. Fire control systems integrate real-time oceanographic data to predict acoustic propagation. The next generation of submarines will hear farther, track longer, strike faster. But the core principle remains unchanged. Listen without, track without being seen, strike without warning. That's the silent world 3,000 miles from home. The ocean is vast, opaque, and hostile. But for a crew trained to hunt in darkness, it's home territory. They own the deep. And surface fleets? Through.